Welcome back, Vertigo Nation, to another episode. Yes, we are rolling on, making your head spin. Today's topic, denying the inevitable or intuition. Or are they one and the same? I don't know. Which is it? Cue the music! Vertigo Nation. Welcome back to another episode. So happy to be joining you. This is your host, Sean. And here we are, man. And I'm recording this on July 4th. So I just want to say, I know that politically we've been in turmoil as Americans, right? We seem to not be able to agree on, a lot lately. And I just hope that maybe on July 4th, we can just remember that we are all in this together and that, at the end of the day, I do truly believe that democracy will prevail. We have a lot of rights in this country that they don't have in other countries. And I just hope that today we can put the political differences aside and really just celebrate the fact that we as Americans are very fortunate to live in the country that we do. Yes, there's problems. Yes, there's differences of opinions. Yes, to all of those things. But at the end of the day, we are all in this together. And so I just, wanted to say that. So that's me on my soapbox, and enough of that. So I hope everybody is enjoying the holiday. We're coming off quite a hot few days. It was pretty brutal. I know working in it was terrible. So anybody who had to work outside, I work in a machine shop. It was pretty hot in there. We got, powder coat that goes on, so that requires an oven. It also requires some tanks with boiling water and chemicals and whatnot. So yeah, it was pretty hot. So to all of those who, like I said, work outdoors or work in, manufacturing, factory settings, whatever, hopefully everybody got through it well, and here we are. Looking a little dark and drab today as I'm recording this, which kind of stinks because, today's the day of barbecues and fireworks and things like that. So hopefully things will calm down. We'll get some sunshine and be able to enjoy the day here. So, So happy 4th of July, Vertigo Nation, and thank you for joining me. And as the intro, I talked about, I had this thought, obviously, I'm an open book. I've been talking a lot about the changes that are going on in my life. And one of the things that came to my mind is, a topic is denying the inevitable or intuition, right? We all have, I think, that gut feeling. I remember way back when I first got out of high school, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, I didn't go on to college right away. So I entered the workforce, and originally I worked for OCO. Sorry, just slipped my mind. So I worked for a human service organization, OCO, and and they have a ton of programs, but one of the programs that I happened to work for was the Services to Aid Families Safe. They do a bunch of different things. They are the domestic violence shelter for Oswego County. They are the rape crisis program for Oswego County. And so I worked in the school district and I did education, specifically working with young ones, kindergartners to, like, it was all elementary school, so K through 6 in Oswego County. And I did the whole stranger danger thing, right? And, telling kids, don't take candy from strangers. If somebody comes up to you, tells you that their dog's lost, don't get in a car with them to go find, all of that stuff that we have all learned, at young ages. And so that's what I did when I first got out of high school. I would go into the schools and do the whole stranger danger, thing. And I remember with kindergartners, I had such a hard time because I wasn't quite sure how to talk to their level. And, I remember I would always tell them, you ever get that funny feeling in your belly that just tells you that something's just not quite right? And learn to trust that. Now, I never had, even then, I didn't have a word for it. I didn't call it intuition. I didn't really even know what it was, I guess. I just knew it as that funny feeling in your belly, right? And as I've aged and kind of come into my own, I understand now that, this is a safety mechanism that's kind of built into us. And we're all intuitive in a sense, right? We all have that gut feeling when something's not quite right. And so going through the situation I'm going through, and I think many of us, it doesn't even have to be a situation with a partner or spouse. Just in general, you get yourself into a situation and you get that feeling of like something's not quite right. And so that's what I was thinking about, right? Like, is that because we are denying the inevitable? Like, we know, but then if we know, isn't that intuition? So that's what I guess I wanted to kind of introduce and untangle and talk about. So it led me down a rabbit hole. And of course, I did some Google searching and whatnot, right? And so I found this interesting little AI overview that actually put this into better words than I could have. This is the problem with AI. Anybody ever watch the movie Terminator? That movie was released back in 1984. So, but I feel like it's one of those movies that's just like, I don't know. Everybody's seen the Terminator, right? I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator, whatever. I'll be back, right? So that's my best Arnold Schwarzenegger, whatever. Yeah, I don't know what the word is. It just slipped my mind. Yeah. So moving on because it was terrible anyway. So denying the inevitable. So I just literally opened a Google search and I said, denying the. Let me learn how to talk. Let me go back, rewind. Okay. All right. So I did a Google search, denying the inevitable or intuition. That's what I Google searched, and I got this AI overview. Oh, the Terminator. What? So. Yeah, the Terminator, kind of scared the living shit out of me as a kid because, AI in 19... So I was born in 76. I don't think that I saw the Terminator necessarily in 84. I think it was probably closer to 86 or 87 because then they started putting movies on TV. I didn't have cable, so they would show these movies late at night. Usually it was like a Friday or Saturday night at like 11 p.m. They would show, obviously, edited movies. And I remember I would set up the VCR so that it would record them because I wasn't allowed to stay up that late. And so I'd record the movies and then get all excited. And it's so great. If anybody who grew up in that era, like, this was the technology that we had. So you had a VCR, so you could record on the VCR, right? And so you would put your tape in, you'd set the thing, and you would always want to set it for a few minutes before because you never wanted to start it right at 11, right? Because fear of something missing the beginning of a movie, right? So you'd start it a little bit before. And then, it might have been, they might have started at 9 because there was the 11 o'clock news. And I know everything was done by 11 o'clock because the 11 o'clock news was like a thing. And now they have 24-hour news. It's so wild, right? It's crazy how much things have changed now that I'm sitting here actually thinking about it. Like, because I remember getting home from school. I was just talking about this with a buddy at work. I remember getting home from school and there was the WSTM club. So you'd get home and there'd be cartoons. It was, for me, what I remember is there was the Ghostbusters cartoon. There was Scooby-Doo. And then He-Man, or She-Ra. I think it was one or the other. Every other day it would switch. But there was the WSTM club. So you would get like, I don't know if it was a hour of cartoons that kind of started at 4 o'clock. I think it was like 4 to 5 or 4 to 4:30, something like that. And you could be part of, I remember I had a little card that I signed up. I was part of the WSTM club. You probably had to send them money or something. I don't know because I was too young to know what the hell. And that was the era of like toys and prizes and cereal boxes. And, I got to say, growing up in the 80s, it was a lot of fun. Cracker Jacks and digging for toys and, fighting with my sisters over who was going to get the cereal toy, And I heard actually a rumor that they're going to start doing that again. So anyway, before I digress too much further, because I'm way off course now, this sailboat went somewhere else, but we got to change course here. All right. So anyway, my point in bringing up the Terminator is it had this fear of AI, right? Because the whole plot premise of Terminator was the machines were going to take over the world. And I'm kind of wondering now, like, you know, I had a professor in college who always said that truth is so much stranger than fiction, and it just makes me wonder, like, where is this all going to go? But anyway, I did a Google search. See, we're gonna loop back around. This is why, new listeners, this is Vertigo. This is the show that will make your head spin. Part of it is because your host, for the life of him, can't stay on a topic, and that's just the way that it is. So if you're listening, I appreciate it. If you just found me, please hit the subscribe button. Stick with us. I will wrap this up, and I will make a point. It just might take a minute. Are you seatbelted in? Are you ready for the ride? Okay. Denying the inevitable, or intuition, or I kind of wonder if they're one and the same. That's my thing. But I think the key word in all of this is denial, and not the body of water that is in Egypt, not that Nile, denial, which whatever. So AI overview. All right. Denying the inevitable and relying on intuition are two opposing cognitive responses to a looming reality. Wow, AI. That is wordy. What the fuck does that mean? Okay. Let's break it up. So denying the inevitable and relying on intuition are two opposing cognitive responses. Well, I don't know that I agree with that, right? I don't know that they're opposing. I think that, I think that it is important. Denial is an important thing, and I think that we deny our gut reaction to things sometimes because we try to cognitively outsmart it. That's what I think. But I love that AI came up with the tug of war as the topic heading, the tug of war, denial versus intuition. So it sounds to me like what the real topic is, and I appreciate AI for kind of setting me straight on this, right? There's denial and there's intuition, two opposing things that are happening here. And so really the inevitable is what our intuition is trying to clue us on into, I guess, And so I guess what we really need to talk about is denial. And, that's, I know for me, with the shame and the guilt that I had talked about on the Vertigo for the Hardcore episode, again, if you didn't get a chance to listen to that, and I just want to tell everybody, Vertigo for the Hardcore is just a little bit more edgy. It's just a little bit more, I know I swear on this show, but I also try to censor myself a little bit on this show, where Vertigo for the Hardcore is just me letting it fly. And I mean no offense, but that's the difference in the two titles. So if you see a show that's titled Vertigo for the Hardcore, it's just me on the mic letting it go and not really filtering. Where the normal show, which there will be more episodes of this than there are of the hardcore, this I try to filter a little bit and make it a little bit more I don't know, a little cleaner, I guess. I don't know. Just listen to the shit. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. It's all cool. Leave me a comment, whatever. Hit subscribe. Do the thing. Denial operates to protect you from the emotional sting of a harsh reality. All right. So denial does have a purpose. Denial is I think the body's way of kind of saying, we're not ready to deal with this. And so we're going to pad it a little bit. The problem is, and at least speaking from the eye, is it's really easy to get stuck in denial, right? It really is easy to just live there and avoid, which I am a king of avoidance. I have a hard time. I don't know. Let me see. I don't know how to, now that I'm doing this on the mic, it's not that I don't want to tackle an issue, because I certainly will come and tackle an issue. But I think denial is the uncomfortability of it, right? Like if it's not comfortable, then it kind of allows us to live outside of that. That's what denial is for me, I think. And sometimes it's just much easier to stay in a situation and deny that anything is happening. Kind of do the whole, head in the sand. It's not happening, or the ear, the fingers in the ears, la 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 la. Like, my daughter did that to me the other day. Actually, yeah, that was great. She didn't do the la 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 part, but she covered her ears. Taking a little sip of coffee here as we keep rolling on. But yeah, denial it does have a place, I think, you know. However, the unhealthy part of denial is that, at least for me, again, we often get stuck there. And so there's no forward movement, you know. We just, and that's where denying the inevitable comes up for me, I think. It's like relating to me. It's like, you know, that things are coming to an end. You know that things just aren't healthy, but you're not quite sure how to tackle it or have that conversation. And so it's easier to just live in denial. All right. However, intuition operates as a warning. So you've got denial, which is pretending something doesn't happen, and intuition is kind of stepping in, that gut feeling that I was telling you that I used to talk to the kindergartners about, right? Intuition, right, operates as the warning. It's a protective subconscious thing that's happening, right? I kind of put it as the knowing. Now, I think there are some people who have stronger intuition than others, you know, but I think we all have it a little bit. And I think that if we are a person that has any type of anxiety, you know, then it can quickly kind of start to butt heads with our intuition, you know? So intuition is kind of giving us a warning or telling us that, just giving us some information in general. And then we have to choose what we do with that. And for me, you know, denial becomes the cognitive, you know, shield, so to speak. And so what happens when we do that, right? Well, when we live in denial, we end up, at least in my case, we freeze. And then we end up not making decisions. And then there's no forward movement. And then we kind of just live or exist in this space. In my opinion, it's not a healthy space to be living in. But here we are, right? And we kind of try to push down or hit the mute button on the intuition. Because I think after a while, what happens is intuition kind of starts screaming at us, you know? So then it led me to kind of look further into denial. And again, AI overview. Denial is a refusal to accept truth, fact, or reality. And I do agree with that. I think that, you know, just think about it in general, right? When we are denying that something is happening, we are refusing to accept the truth, right? And it can be small or large, right? I remember, for example, when my dad passed away, right? There's that initial shock or wanting to deny reality. Like, no, this can't be happening, right? And that's healthy in a way, because I think it does protect us a little bit, because we can't take all of that shock all at once. So denial, I think, is a healthy response. The problem is we as humans have learned how to manipulate that. And so then we want to live there. Like, no, this didn't happen. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. And I'm sure we all know, you know, we have friends, family members, whatever, who we know have been there. And it's really hard to watch sometimes, you know. And then we personally have also been there. And it's really hard to work through, right? Because there's this overwhelming anxiety, you know, that comes. And I think that I think it's also important in my research that I learned. Excuse me. See, part of Vertigo is also helping me learn how to speak. I just get so excited, and the ADHD kicks in. It's like I got to get it all out at once, you know. Instead of taking a breath and slowing down. Maybe I'm going to do that right now and enjoy a little sip of coffee. Maybe that's the problem, is the caffeine. I don't know. Although I am one of those people that can drink a cup of coffee and then lay down and go to sleep. So psychologically, right, in psychology, denial is an unconscious defense. I wrote that down. Denial is an unconscious defense mechanism, all right? Where we then refuse to acknowledge some facts, or maybe even a traumatic event. You know, we just refuse. Now, I think that, again, that can be important, you know, but I think also what happens is we get stuck there, and then and then we live in the denial instead of beginning to accept it. So I think here's my interpretation. Healthy denial is there's a traumatic event that happens, and unconsciously we're like, no, 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 this couldn't happen. Couldn't happen. Didn't happen, right? Denying it. But then as the shock wears off, we begin to accept, and maybe we grieve, and maybe whatever, but we accept the reality, and then the denial fades away, right? However, it becomes unhealthy when the denial doesn't go away and we choose to just live there and deny that anything is wrong. All right. Now, I certainly have lived in that space, just denying the inevitable, and this is where I think that denial and intuition really kind of go hand in hand. They're not really opposing thoughts, in my opinion. And I would love to hear what the Vertigo Nation thinks about this. But I guess what I have concluded for myself is intuition is the warning shot, and then denial is the behavioral response, And so we tend to want to shut our intuition off because we just can't accept that. I guess we just can't accept that, period. And so that's kind of my thought about it. But again, I would love to hear what people's thoughts are about that, because I think all of these topics, I think, I need to get some people on the show. I need to get some guests. So any volunteers, hit me up. You can email vertigopod@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment in the comment section of the podcast itself. Socials are still up in the air. I really need to get on the ball with that. So I would not message me at this point in time through the socials. Not that there's nothing weird going on with them. I just don't have control of them right now. So no one's really manning them or paying attention to them is all. So nothing weird, just is what it is. But yeah, so denying the inevitable. And I am definitely a person who likes to live in denial. And that is one of the things that I am actually trying now to get a better handle on, right? Is understanding that it is often better when we just face things head on and address things head on. I've been told in my life that I'm wishy-washy. And I think that comes from denial, not wanting to rock the boat, make waves, all of those things. And so I am trying to learn to be better about being upfront. It's not that I want to, I don't know. It comes from the shame and guilt too. It all ties back into that too. Not wanting to hurt people, not wanting to let people down. It's kind of all of that stuff. So yeah, it's crazy. Right. And so this is some of the stuff that I've been kind of juggling and thinking about throughout my week and preparing for this episode. And again, would love to hear what some of your thoughts are on these topics. So like I said, please leave a comment. Please let me know what you think. And I would love to talk more about intuition too, because I think we all have it. I think all of us are intuitive. I think it's a natural part of us being human. We all have that little alarm clock in the gut that goes off that lets us know that to be weary, warning us of the situation at hand, and then it's just whether we choose to listen to it. I think some people shut it off. That comes from denial. And I think some people are just in tune with their intuition. It's weird that those sound so much alike. And they are just better at it. So for me, my personal goal is to be better at listening, being in tune with the intuition, and, understanding that it is there to serve a purpose for me, and that I need to listen and kind of clue into that and not be so quick to jump on the denial side of things. And, but also understand that denial does have a purpose, but we can't live there. I can't set that up as a tent and just live in the denial tent. I can't do it. It's unhealthy. So moving forward. Hey, so this week on my playlist, so kind of the 80s thing. I don't know why. I've been reminiscing a lot lately, and I've been watching a lot of older '80s movies. I am a sucker for like the '80s action movies. Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I remember them going head to head in the '80s, right? Like they were just both these huge action stars. And so anyway, I watched the movie, the original Predator, um, which I never realized. On one hand, I think that movie's brilliant, and on the other hand, it's completely cheesy. And for both reasons, I really love it. So let me tell you about the cheese factor first, I guess. I find it really cheesy because, first of all, if you listen to the dialogue in that movie, it is just horrible. The dialogue in that movie is everything that an '80s action movie was. Completely cheeseball like dialogue. Those look in the camera one liner, whatever, you know. Yeah, but that's what makes it fun, I think, too. And that's why I love the whole '80s action genre, is for those very reasons, because it is freaking cheesy. And you know what, man? That's what makes watching those movies fun. However, I would love to talk to the writer, director, whatever, of the Predator movie, because it's really a movie within a movie, in my opinion. And hear me out on this. So the beginning of the movie is like a classic action movie, right? It's almost like Expendables in a sense, right? You've got Arnold Schwarzenegger. You've got all of these like larger than life action guys. Jesse Ventura's in it. Carl Weathers is in it, who played he was in the Action Jackson, but he also played Apollo Creed in the Rocky movies. So you had these larger than life characters that assemble this mercenary team that are going to go into this foreign country, and the Americans are going to kick some ass, right? Classic action. But also within that, there's this horror element. Oh, Brooklyn. The New York City came out. Horror. All right, hold on. Let me rewind. Horror. There's a horror element that comes out with obviously the Predator hunting down these mercenaries. So part of me wonders if like the cheese factor is because it's like Scream in a sense, right? It's a movie that's picking on its own genre, but it's not really an action movie. It's really, and let me think about this, horror. It's really a horror movie, in my opinion. And so, anyway, here we are evaluating the Predator, right? Like, what the fuck? Yeah, this is Vertigo, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Yeah. So, just did a whole analysis on the movie Predator. What are your thoughts? Let me know. I don't know. And the Predator is still like running strong, man. Like I said, that movie, I gotta look that up. Actually, let's do a quick Google search and find out when was the Predator movie actually released. I gotta look this up right now. So let's do a little The Predator. All right. 1987 was when the first and original Predator movie was released. So 1987. So here it is, 2026, and the Predator franchise is still going strong. I think they just released Badlands, which I have not watched yet. I got to admit, I haven't watched a lot of the sequels, prequels, and all of that stuff. I did watch AVP, which I thought was all right. But the original Predator wasn't cool. Was cool. I'm not huge on remakes and reboots or whatever the fuck they call them these days. I'm not huge on that. I don't quite understand. Like Disney is doing this whole thing, right? Like Moana, the original Moana that came out, the animated one, only came out like so many years ago. It's not that old. Matter of fact, my daughter loves Moana. We watch that regularly on the weekends, right? And now it's like they're doing all the quote unquote live action movies. And it's like, I don't understand it, so I understand wanting to give an update, maybe like, if you wanted to remake Bedknobs and Broomsticks, or Disney in the 90s remade The Parent Trap. Like, okay, I guess giving it a fresh coat of paint, like whatever. Okay. I can get down with that a little bit. Um, I gotta tell you, I think. All right, so pause on this whole thing because I'm gonna go completely left on everybody. The only remake of a movie that I have seen that actually enjoy is True Grit. Okay, so you have the original True Grit, which was done with John Wayne, and oh, he was a country singer, and I can't think of his name right now. He sang Rhinestone Cowboy, and he also sang Galveston. Galveston, oh Galveston. Um, like a rhinestone cowboy. Who was that, man? I don't remember. Glenn Campbell. All right. So you had Glenn Campbell and John Wayne in the original True Grit. And then the Coen brothers remade it with Jeff Bridges and Matt Damon. And let me tell you, man, they did. If anybody has not seen either of those two movies, I'm going to challenge you on the next indoor rainy day. Watch True Grit with John Wayne and then watch True Grit with Jeff Bridges. And tell me that remake doesn't do justice. Now, first of all, I'm not the biggest John Wayne fan, but I do like John Wayne. I mean, I think he's like one of the earliest like action heroes, I think, right? So I give respect in that regard. But the Coen brothers' True Grit, not only did they keep some of the scenes and the dialogue the same, like it just is flushed out better, the plot and stuff. Like it's just incredible. So that's a remake that I really like. Now I'm going to go on record to say if they could do the Predator, like if the Coen brothers would do the Predator the same way that they did True Grit, I think that would be pretty incredible, I have to admit. So that's just my personal thought. But yeah, so anyway, and getting back to wrap all that up, and so now Disney's doing the live action Moana with The Rock and whatnot, and it's just kind of makes me think like, why not just go that route like originally? Like why? I don't know. So we're getting a remake of the original Moana, which was probably done 2018, something like that. I mean, it's probably been 10 years since it's been done. They just did Moana 2, that just came out last year, 24 or 25. I remember taking Gia to the theater to see it, so it wasn't that long ago. We went to the Movie Tavern, which if anybody's never done the Movie Tavern has changed how you see a movie now. Like the fact that you can go in there, sit down, and order some food. Now, the only thing that would make the Movie Tavern better is if the food was actually good. That would be good. Anyway, moving on. So, yeah, I've completely digressed. What's on my playlist? Let's skip over this whole movie shenanigans and let's just talk about what is on my playlist. I actually created a new playlist this week, and it's all new school metal. I put the parameters up as anything from the year 2000 forward because, in my opinion, it takes a minute for bands to catch on and for bands to break and whatnot. And so, 26 years now seems to be a pretty good pulse of what the new school is kind of looking like. So, Lamb of God, Bad Omens. I've been really listening to like the new school metalcore bands, which is really different. So if you're not a metalcore fan, you can just kind of shut off this part of the pod, like tune me out. This would be a good chance to, pull into the Dunkin' Donuts, turn the volume down, and order a coffee. However, if you are interested, kind of the new school. So you've got metalcore, which was like Killswitch Engage. Yeah, anything else just, left my brain for a minute. Atreyu, I guess maybe it would be a little metalcore. So that there was that in the late 90s, early 2000s. And now there's this new school where they've introduced pop music into it a little bit. And so it's really kind of weird. I'm still trying to get used to it. But there are a few bands, I think, who do a really good job with it. Dayseeker is one. I really have come to kind of like Dayseeker, especially their newest album. So there's a lot of that I mixed in there. But we just had some fun at work the other day, and they had like Iron Maiden, like older metal playing Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden. And it really just brought me back to my younger years because that's what I listened to, Iron Maiden and Metallica and so I did go down the rabbit hole listening to some of the older, metal as well. But I did anyway. I created a playlist with new school of metal. And that's why, because I was thinking like, man, I have so many playlists of Iron Maiden, Metallica, Megadeth, Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, that kind of stuff that I wanted to create like kind of a new school playlist. And so I'm actually looking for suggestions. I can tell you right now that I have Bad Omens is in there. What was I just talking about? Dayseeker is in there. I think I did put Atreyu's got a new song out. All for You. If you haven't, even if you're not a metal fan, I would challenge you to go listen to the Atreyu song, All for You. Lyrically and musically, that song is absolutely incredible, and it's the lead vocalist can sing. He has an incredible voice. I don't know his name, and maybe that's not as important, but go listen to All for You by Atreyu. Again, lyrically and musically, one of the most incredible songs. So if you have any suggestions, and then I kind of went through. Oh, this is what I wanted to talk about on my playlist. Poppy, Poppy, Poppy. She is a female vocalist, entertainer. I guess she started off on YouTube. She's got an interesting trajectory. She started off kind of as a pop artist, and then has turned into a metal artist. And but anyway, I'm really digging. She's got a song out right now called Time Will Tell, and I'm really digging it. I'm really actually digging it. So I'm kind of surprised, I guess, because there's some music in the new school era that, and I guess too, this kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm saying, but I've also just entered this phase where I've been really thinking a lot and reminiscing. And so, again, it kind of started with a buddy and I talking about, so the Great Northern Mall caught fire in the last week. And a buddy and I at work were talking about the Great Northern Mall and what it was like hanging out. We came from an era where we hung out at the mall. Like that was what you did. And I think there's a whole generation now that doesn't even know what that's like. What it was like on the weekend being dropped off at the mall by your parents. And that's what you did, And I remember, and it wasn't even a wealthy thing. Like I didn't have a lot of money in my pocket. It wasn't like my parents could fund me going to the mall all the time. I mean, I grew up in a family of 6. But it was one of those things where I do remember like you'd scrounge up $5-10 and you go to the mall and you could eat Taco Bell with your buddies on $5. It's wild. It was such a wild time. It was such a fun time. But anyway, in reminiscing about that, for me, I always think about music because music is the thread for me. And so like I think about what was popular at the time. And then I reminisce about that. And so I get stuck, right, in these ways because it's like, nobody's better than Iron Maiden or nobody's better than, right? But there are some artists out there right now who I think are pretty incredible. So Poppy is one of them, is where I was going with that. And that song is Time Will Tell. So that's big on my playlist. So, yeah, Vertigo Nation, I'm going to wrap it up right here. And hopefully, you made it through the episode with me. And I'm sure your head is spinning, but hey, that's the nature of the show, right? Vertigo, the podcast that will make your head spin. Thank you for joining me. Enjoy the 4th of July. And just be well, man. Love one another. Spread it. And go ahead. Let your head spin.